This video will show how to do a felled seam. I have 2 pieces of cloth. The edges are laid together. I'm going to sew them with this simple stitch, a simple straight stitch first. I'm going to make a really wide felled seam just so you can see how it goes together. So I'm going to make a straight stitch first, evenly, across the 2 pieces of cloth to hold them together. Making a straight stitch is very simple. I'm just going up and down and up and down, and I'm using my eyes to keep that fairly even and straight against the edge. I'm also using, I know how wide my fingernail is, and I'm sort of using that as a guide for how far down from the edge I'm going. And I'm letting it bunch up and pushing it behind my needle as I go. That helps me keep the stitches even. In the 18th century, a straight stitch is something like 20 up and downs in an inch. This is nowhere close to that. That's an inch, so we've got 6 or 8 up and downs. So in the period, they're going up 2 or 3 threads, down 2 or 3 threads, up 2 or 3 threads, down 2 or 3 threads. Pretty incredible, the minute stitches. Okay, so I've sewn these together with a straight stitch, and we are happy with that. That is a good beginning. Straight stitch. In a felled seam, I'm going to protect the edges here, and so I'm going to cut off, I'm going to cut this off, and I cut it off, just one layer, cutting it off. And now I have to make sure I don't sew the 2 pieces together again. I don't want to sew them together again. I'm going to fold this over and over, and then I'm going to sew right along the front edge of that with a hem stitch. What's essentially a hem stitch. Up to but not through. Like that. So I'm just going to take a little, I'm going to catch the cloth underneath and then the edge that I have folded down, very simply. And it's like I got my, don't ignore that thread there. It's like I'm doing a sort of a hem stitch here to hold that together. I've done this in 2 different colors of thread, so you can see where those 2 things come and go on the finished stitch. So this is how the edges of your blue jeans are sewn together. It's one stitch, and when I turn it over, I don't see the first stitch, I only see the second stitch. And when you make them really teeny tiny, they sort of disappear. Where this is used in 18th century cap making is most commonly when I have to piece the headpiece or a ruffle. And you can see little teeny tiny stitches. This is actually pretty big for 18th century work. I've seen felled seams that were less than the 16th inch across. So there you go, straight stitches, felled seams.